All right, thanks so much for joining us. Breaking news right now. We've been keeping tabs on severe weather that's been rolling out of Maryland into sections of Delaware right now. You can see a tornado warning until 11:30. This does include central and southern sections of Newcastle County until 11:30. So we've been watching that rotation cross Maryland, the eastern shore of Maryland, into sections of Delaware. So Kathy's kind of put the shear markers on this, and you can see that it continues to move on off to the north and east at about, I'd say, 20 to 30 miles per hour. So some of the highways that need to seek shelter immediately if you live around 301, also 13. But take a look at this. It's had good rotation as it moved through Maryland into sections of Newcastle County, Delaware. Very heavy rainfall with this system, as well as vivid lightning. We're talking about the rainfall rates with this system anywhere from about 2 to 3 inches per hour. And some locations just south and west of Philadelphia have picked up 2 to as much as 4 inches of rain. Look at all of the storm reports around Baltimore, north of D.C. These are funnel clouds as well as confirmed tornadoes. So this system has been rotating as it's been pushing through the Chesapeake Bay area into sections of Delaware right now. So Newcastle County, southern sections of Newcastle County, we do have that tornado warning until 11:30. I was talking about some of those rainfall totals. Very impressive. You can see just around the Middletown area over 3 inches, but move off to the west and you can see areas around the Chesapeake 5, close to almost 6 inches of rainfall out of this system. So once again, we're talking about heavy rainfall outside of our studios. Temperatures are going to hold pretty steady in the low 70s, but the concern is for the severe weather threat right now over the next several hours. But tomorrow we'll likely have another round of thunderstorms that could be severe. So once again, tornado warning until 11:30. You can see that we're putting that storm tracker on this, and very vivid rotation with it as it moves across the Chesapeake, the eastern shore of Maryland, into sections of Newcastle County. So Kathy, could you zoom in and put some of the neighborhoods and some of the streets potentially on what we're dealing with this particular warning?
Sure, Scott. This is a severe thunderstorm, a rotating thunderstorm capable of producing the tornado. Now, this was indicated over Bohemian Mills or near Middletown, and it's moving east at 20 miles an hour. That is not a fast speed. So as it continues to move eastward, it will cross over, obviously, the state of Delaware through Newcastle County, then over the Delaware Bay and possibly into Salem County. Now, the areas we're talking about that are impacted are Middletown, Delaware City, also Salem, St. George's, Port Penn, and Mount Pleasant, even Odessa. Now, earlier this evening at about 8:30, we had another tornado warning for the same area. So we're going over the same area as we did before. Now we're going to do a storm tracker on this. And if we look at the speed and direction of this particular storm, it's moving east at about 20 miles an hour. So we're talking about Thorntown at 11:09 and Port Penn by about 11:13. So if you live in any of the areas that I mentioned, please get to an interior room of your home and wait until these storms pass. We always talk about tornado safety, and we can't emphasize it enough. Go to the basement, interior room of your home if you do not have a basement, and of course stay away from the windows. So we have been watching several tornado warnings that have been developing over the course of the evening. An outbreak of sorts, Scott, in Maryland, about 7 to 10 tornadoes earlier, and you could see these two warnings. We had 2 left, and they were in Cecil County, Maryland. We always keep a careful eye on Cecil County because it borders Newcastle County, Delaware, to the east and to the north, Chester County. So this is a tornado warning until 11:30, and you can see the spin. We talked about it at 10 o'clock. See that early rotation that was over Kent County, Maryland, and it continued into Delaware. And right now we have that warning until 11:30. One of the things we always look at is the shear. That is the spin in the atmosphere. As you go higher up in the atmosphere, it's a change of wind speed and direction, and that is is a big indication that you have a rotating thunderstorm. And look at that. It started in the eastern shore of Maryland right here. You can follow the blue, and it continued from Kent County, Delaware, and into Newcastle County, or Kent County, Maryland, and into Newcastle County, Delaware. So a very strong rotating thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, and these are the areas of concern right now, right along 13, Route 1, Laurelwood Grove, through Mount Pleasant. And if you follow this blue, that's telling you where the rotating thunderstorm or potential tornado is, and it is moving toward the east-northeast at about 20 miles an hour. So this is the area of concern. If you know anybody that lives in this area, please make sure that they stay home, don't venture out, and wait until this dangerous storm passes. Another thing we have to talk about, Scott, is the rain associated with these storms, because these storms have a history of inches of rain in a matter of
I mean, it's just
minutes.
incredible. I mean, we saw dew points earlier this afternoon in the 70s as very tropical in nature. So, I mean, we're squeezing out a lot of moisture with this particular storm system. And this is just kind of the opening act for what we'll be dealing with. Again, tomorrow we have the threat for some strong, potentially severe thunderstorms. But if we could take radar, I'll show you some of the areas that we're watching under this particular tornado warning right now, included in that places like Mount Pleasant, Armstrong, moving around Thorntown, Delaware City. You need to be in your safe zone, down, under cover, and keep away from windows, the innermost part of your home. These storms have had a history of rotation. We've seen multiple tornadoes earlier this afternoon and this evening through sections of Maryland. I believe we have some video actually of some of those tornadoes moving through the state of Maryland. And now these same system, I mean, is on top of sections of Delaware right now. So, I mean, they've had a history of rotation. I mean, look at these tornadoes. This isn't the Midwest. This is a few counties over off to our west, around Baltimore, the D.C. area. So this storm system has had a history of rotation. So let's go back to the radar and show you we're under a tornado warning for Newcastle County in Delaware. So take this seriously, because as we take a look at that southwestern part of this polygon, the red polygon, showing you some rotation. So there's twist in the atmosphere, there's spin. It's had a history of producing funnel clouds, even the tornadoes that you saw just a few minutes ago on your screen. I mean, we're talking about this potential here. So Highway 301, 71, 13, as well as 1, you need to be in your safe zone. Odessa, Delaware, you're included in that. Middletown, Delaware, you're just to the north you're just to the south, rather, of this particular tornado warning. But I'll kind of zoom in here, and you can see there's Middletown. But as you move into the northern part of Middletown, your neighborhood could be underneath that. So I'm going to put some of the streets on here. It looks like Porky Oliver Drive, Spring Hollow Drive, Leanne Drive, Nantucket Drive, moving towards Shannon Boulevard. You need to be in your safe zone. Chestnut Way, West Central Park, moving back up to the McDonough area, also Acorn Drive. This is just to the north of the Middletown area in sections of Newcastle County, Delaware. So once again, I'll kind of zoom out, and you can see that it's not the entire county of Newcastle. It's kind of like the central part of the county with that tornado warning. But look at the radar. I mean, we're talking about blinding rainfall. This is just north of Middletown. 301, blinding rainfall, probably rainfall rates 2 to 3 inches per hour with this particular cell. And they're only moving at about what? Let's see here. This is moving to the northeast at 30 miles per hour. So some of these locations could end up with half a foot of rainfall easily before all is said and done. I mean, they've already picked up anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain. And it looks like this is kind of training over the same location right between between Middletown and the Lorewood Grove area, Kathy.
Absolutely. If we could take a look at our computer maps here, I'm running a track on this, and you can see it will be in Thorntown by about 11:25. And you talked about the rain rate, Scott, with this. If we do a query here, we can take a look at how fast this rain is falling. And if we go in the center where we're seeing some hail, we're talking about 4.88 inches an hour. These storms have a history of 5 to 6 inches of rain as they pass when they were in Maryland, and now we're talking about rain rates that are very similar. So then we have to be very concerned about flash flooding. So once the tornado threat is passed, then we have to look at the flash flooding threat as well. So you mentioned about that area in the northern part of Middletown. As the storm moves northeast at about 20 miles an hour, that is very slow. And that's something that we have to be worried about as well. So that northern part of Middletown, the storm will be there now within the next minute.
And this is our only warning in our viewing area. Right now, South Jersey, you're looking at very heavy rainfall moving in. Some of the heavier rain now moving across the Delaware Bay into Salem County. Also, southern Chester County looking at very heavy rainfall. North and west moving towards sections of the Lehigh Valley, up the northeast extension. Just a plain old rain, but our focus right now is in sections of Kent County. If we can go to radar, I'm going to zoom in and just kind of show you the area that we're watching here. It's right along Highway 13 as well as 301 through sections of Newcastle County in Delaware, but very heavy rainfall. That dark magenta color, that maroon color, that is where we have those rainfall rates of probably 3 to 4 inches per hour. That's right around the Lorewood Grove area. We'll zoom in, Mount Pleasant, moving right toward, this is Highway or County Road 71. It looks like 896. You need to be in your safe zone. A lot of shear moving through the Mount Pleasant area right now, but some of the streets in this area, Whispering Woods Road, Crystal Run Road, this is in the Mount Pleasant area of Newcastle County, Delaware. You need to be in your safe zone. We're watching rotation right now and heavy rainfall. Tea Tree Lane seeing some very strong rotation. Michelangelo Drive, Saffron Circle, moving toward Highway 13. A lot of folks take this, of course, to go to the Delaware beaches, but we're seeing very strong rotation moving through kind of central sections of Newcastle County with this very heavy rainfall. I'm going to put the lightning on too, because we've been seeing quite a bit of lightning with this system as well, and it's moving to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour, but take a look at some of the lightning just within this box here. We're looking at about 30 to 40 lightning strikes with this system.
It is amazing. And when you look at the rain, we talked about the rain rates with this. Take a look at this on our computer monitor. In Middletown right now, we have about 2.5 inches of rain. And if you cross the border and just move over to Maryland on the other side there, you can see what the storms actually have a history of. And they have a history of 5.1 inches of rain. That's in Cecil County. That's where the storm came from, 5.4 inches. And if you go over the bay, it's 6 inches of rain. So this is obviously flooding rain associated with this. So it's blinding downpours as the storm moves across the southern part of Newcastle County, Delaware, with this rotating thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. We've had several reports, at least 10 in the Maryland area, and some reports of tornadoes on the ground there. So it's been a very active evening, and this crossing over the border from Kent County, Maryland into Newcastle County, Delaware. The second tornado in this same area this evening, one earlier tonight about 8:30. So we do have the blinding rain. We do have the storm moving northeast at about 30 miles an hour, so it's not very fast, and it's going to take a little while for this to get out of here. So we have about, let's say, about 15, 16, 17 more minutes on this, and there's going to be a lot more rain, possibly 2 more inches of rain that falls with this, and obviously damaging winds associated with it as well. So it doesn't matter if it's a straight line thunderstorm or a rotating thunderstorm, these strong winds are going to create some damage as they move across the county.
Delaware Bay. Yeah, they're going to cross the Delaware Bay and move into Salem County. Some portions of Salem County already looking at some very heavy rainfall, but while we have radar up, you can see just off to the west look at all those damage reports. I mean, we're talking gusty winds, and look at those little red icons with the funnel clouds and the tornadoes. Some of those are actually confirmed tornadoes that were visible. Of course, you saw that video. I don't know if we still have that video of the tornadoes that this particular system produced just off to our west this evening in sections of Maryland. So, I mean, these are around the Baltimore area, also just north of D.C. This is the system that we are dealing with right now. Now, it has begun to weaken quite a bit, but there's still rotation with this system. So that's why we have the tornado warning in effect until 11:30 for sections of Newcastle County. And that's why we're staying with this particular warning, because this storm system, this warm front that's advancing, has had a history of producing funnel clouds and tornadoes. So there is a threat to lives and property. So as we zoom in to Ultimate Doppler, you can see the very heavy rainfall that continues right now just north of Middletown, Delaware. This is 301, this is 13. Thorntown, you're under that tornado warning. Lorewood Grove. So once again, we're looking at very heavy rainfall. If you hear my voice, you probably hear the lightning and the thundering. You hear the thunder and probably see lightning, but you want to get away from any windows and doors, the lowest level of your home, as we continue to watch some of that shear moving through. So that blue that you see, that is showing us some rotation on Ultimate Doppler. So that's why we have this tornado warning. It's Doppler radar indicated. One hasn't been spotted, but it is Doppler radar indicated. There's also the threat for some quarter-sized hail potentially with this storm system as it continues to lift to the north and east, 30 miles per hour. But I mean, we've been watching this for the better part of what, 15, 20 minutes maybe, and it's been just raining heavily over the same location. So flooding will likely become a concern in this particular area as well. So once again, you can see that last frame showing that arrow that's twisting. That's letting us know that we're still seeing rotation with this cell as it moves through the central part of Newcastle County.
Yeah, and on our computer screen here, you can see the areas that we're concerned with. This storm is moving northeast at 30 miles an hour, so it will be in Mount Pleasant as we speak. We're talking about even Gray Lag at 11:21, Thorntown at 11:28, and Port Penn at 11:31. So if you live in the path of the storm, please go to interior room of your home, away from the windows, and just wait until this storm passes, because obviously we're talking about some torrential rain associated with this, as well as a rotating thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado with some gusty winds and some damaging winds as well. I just got a message from our alert system. It's just saying that the National Weather Service continues this tornado warning for Newcastle County, Delaware until 11:30.
They shifted it a little bit off to the east, so right
Yes.
now you can see we have the polygon showing you the area of concern. So once again, if we could go back to radar, you can see the new polygon that has shaved off that western part that was closest to Maryland. And right now we're talking about Armstrong still being in that tornado zone with the rotation, Thorntown, as well as Lorewood Grove. So it's crossing right over potentially Highway 13. So very familiar to people that take this to the Delaware beaches.
Yep.
Odessa, you're included in this tornado warning as well. So let's zoom in and show you a few of these streets again. If this is your neighborhood, you need to be in your safe zone. Marathon Drive, Honey Locust Road. I know some of these are hard to see, so I'm going to read them out. Vance Neck Road. Also, as we move toward Great Oak Drive, Bullen Drive, Saffron Circle, Penfield Drive, Augustine Boulevard. This is in Newcastle County, Delaware. Dutch Neck Road, Windmill Way, South Canal Road, McCoy Road. If you hear your street, you need to be in a safe zone. Let's see. Wheat Shift Drive, Sylvia Way. So all of these locations are in the tornado warning until 11:30. So we still have about, what, 12 minutes or so to go. And we're still looking at some pretty good rotation on Ultimate Doppler.
Yeah.
And as we go to maps, it looks like some very heavy rainfall around Highway 13, as well as, what, 301,
Now watch
896. And look at some of these streets. Very heavy rainfall. I mean, that is like a maroon magenta color.
It was white a minute ago, and it was about 10 inches an hour for a rain rate. And now when I check it near Mount Pleasant, Route 301, 7.5 inches an hour. Just to give you an idea, it's not going to stay over there for an hour, but that is the rain rate. So, Scott, you were mentioning the roads. I mean, this is 301. You may be familiar with that. Price Drive, even as you head a little bit farther to the east, Emerson Road, Bullen Drive, heading toward 13, as you mentioned, a big road as you head down to the Delaware beaches, and Route 1 as well, over by 9, and heading toward the bay. So we're heading toward the Delaware Bay here with this very heavy rain, and that's going to cross right into Salem County, Delaware, or I should say Jersey, as the last storm did as well. So right now we're over 301, Route 11, north of Middletown, in Odessa, in Gray Leg, and Armstrong, and this storm is moving toward the east now at 20 miles an hour. In Thorntown, the storm is obviously bringing driving rain and poor visibility to your area as well, and I'm sure, you know, with the winds and the rain, you can hear it pounding on your window. So tough sleeping weather tonight with the storm moving through, and we hope within the next 15-20 minutes it's going to be moving out over the bay in a weakened form. But for now, the National Weather Service obviously is keeping that tornado warning in effect until 11:30 tonight. So a lot of lightning with this, heavy rain. I think as soon as that tornado warning comes to an end and is allowed to expire, we're going to be talking about potential for flash flooding with at least 3 or 4 inches of rain in this area. And you did mention that shear tracker. We've been talking about that, and it's staying pretty strong, Scott. I mean, you can see right over the warning area, all that blue is the spin that's continuing, just verifying that this is a rotating thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. It moves right across 13, and if you follow that shear, that's where your storm is. You can see right here, if I take a zoom in on these roads and just follow exactly where that spin is, you'll be able to see where our tornado is. Dutch Neck Road, heading toward South Reedy Point Road and Ace Road, and that's heading right toward the bay. It's not far now.
Yeah, and this just kind of goes right over the canal. You can kind of see through sections of Newcastle County. So Gams Crest, you're in this tornado warning until 11:30. Delaware City, you're in it. St. George's Heights. So this has been showing rotation for quite some time, even around the Chesapeake Bay area. So we're talking about a potential long track tornado if in fact one is confirmed. We'll have to wait and see if there's damage tomorrow morning, but we're talking about rotation, a history of rotation with this particular storm as it continues moving to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour. Very heavy rainfall, lots of lightning. There could be some small hail, but this is going to be crossing the Delaware Bay. It looks like it wants to weaken a bit as it crosses the Delaware Bay into Salem County. Salem County right now is looking at some very heavy rain around Pennsville as well as Salem proper itself. So we're going to have to see what happens with this in the next 8 minutes or so as it moves across the Delaware Bay and into South Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, some very high rain rates in Pennsville and even in Salem, even heading toward Kearney's Point, even away from this potential tornado. Philadelphia is seeing some very heavy rain right now, so it's covering a wide range of our area, those yellows and oranges, pounding rain, but the focal point, obviously, it stands out right here in the central part of Newcastle County. I don't know if we can go to Barron, but this is actually the system that we're watching. It's a warm front that's advancing over the Delaware Valley, and there's been a little bit of spin with that, so that's a part of the system that we're watching over the next really 12 to 16 hours. So once again, we're going to be watching this warm front that's advancing over right now. And then tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at that cold front that's going to be pushing through. So once again, here's the system so you can get your bearings. So right now we're watching this warm front advance across the area. I'm just going to kind of zoom in. This system has had a history of tornadoes and funnel clouds around D.C., Baltimore, and this warm front is lifting across our area right now. And the only severe part of it is in Newcastle County right now, and that is a tornado warning until 11:30. So we're going to have to wait and see if we get a bing
from the National Weather Service, our little bell in here to see if it's going to be extended or not. But South Jersey, very heavy rainfall, nothing severe. Philadelphia, some moderate rain. North and west suburbs looking at heavy rainfall. But that red, that is where we're looking at very heavy rainfall. Newcastle County crossing the Delaware into Salem County right now. And that's at the rotation.
The good news is that you can see with the warm front all clear to the south and to the west of that with clearing skies, and that will be our future as we go into the overnight. So the real severe stuff right now in Delaware, and then it will continue to weaken as you move toward the northeast.
And then the cold front is what's going to move in tomorrow afternoon into the evening, and that could provide more isolated severe thunderstorms. And there's an outside chance there could be a spin up of a tornado tomorrow afternoon and evening too. Which
is something we'll definitely have to watch. If you look at the computer right now, the greatest storm energy, ironically, where you see the yellow is over central Delaware and heading into South Jersey, and this is what we call the helicity. This is more of an indication of that spin that's over us right now on our weather maps right now, and you can see this potential that we have, which is going on. So you see that yellow, that's right where our tornado warning is in the central part of Delaware in Newcastle County, and that yellow is where we're seeing the spin. As Scott mentioned, by tomorrow afternoon, here we go again. See that yellow and also that little blip of orange? That would be an indication that there could be more in the way of severe weather and spin during the day tomorrow. So we'll keep a careful eye on that. But all these indicators showing that, yeah, this is a very serious storm. We have to watch all of these indicators, and obviously once we pass this warning period, keep an eye out for the potential rain and after effects of this. Of course, the National Weather Service will be out tomorrow. They'll be surveying the damage, and then they'll let us know if this indeed was the work of a tornado. Right now, I'm not seeing any storm reports, but that would be coming in the next couple of hours. We do see some hail. You can see a little hail indicator going through Newcastle County as well with this particular loop that I have, and obviously a lot of indication of rotation with this. So, Scott, we're going to find out tomorrow, but nevertheless, right now we're not seeing storm reports, but I would assume we'll have some flooding and also some damage.
Yeah, if we go back to radar, I want to show you the hail tracker with this, and what we're looking at now is the colors of gray, and there's a little light blue on it. So this is indicating that we have some probably quarter-sized hail with this moving just to the north of Middletown, between Thorntown as well as Middletown. So there's some hail associated with this. Also, there's rotation with this.
And you know what's interesting about this? The storms that we saw that kind of spawned this, that were in Maryland, that kind of came over into Delaware, didn't have much hail.
No.
They didn't have the hail, and that's usually a calling card. But they did have, obviously, the rotation. They had the shear, but they didn't have the hail. This is something new that we're seeing with this particular cell that we haven't seen so far tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe that will indicate that it's going to be coming and going rather quickly. So that tornado warning is continuing until 11:30. We have 3 more minutes on this warning, and we're going to see if the National Weather Service.
They extended it. They just extended it into Salem County.
Okay, here we go. Now, this will probably extend the time as well.
Until midnight. So we're going to stay on with this. I know typically at 11:30 it's the fantastic sports show, but we now have a tornado warning that's extending now into Salem County until 12 a.m.
Yeah, severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located near Mount Pleasant, near Middletown, moving east now at 15 miles an hour. So it has slowed down, and that's not good because that means obviously more potential for flooding, and yeah, it's backfilling and moving back over the same area, and we've already seen that happen with the last tornado from earlier this evening. We also have to note there is a flash flood warning now for Chester, PA, until 2:30 in the morning. Flash flooding has been observed, and there is a flash flood warning until 2:30 in the morning. So I'm going to get a little bit more information on that. Flash flood warning for southwestern Chester County until 2:30. Emergency management reports thunderstorms producing rain between 2 and 4 inches of rain had already fallen, and 1 to 2 are expected. Another warning is coming in. Let's see what that one is.
A flood warning.
Flash flood warning.
So as we look at radar, you can see that polygon has extended across the Delaware Bay into sections of Salem as well as still in Newcastle County. So we're talking about that rotation. That's the blue that you see. It continues to move on off to the east. It's slowed down a bit. It continues to move across Highway 13. It's going to be crossing the Delaware Bay into Salem County with some of the same characteristics. We're talking about that rotation, the lightning, the hail, as well as the blinding rainfall. I mean, rainfall rates 2 to 4 inches per hour. I mean, very tropical in nature. Dew points this afternoon were in the upper 60s to low 70s. I mean, just very humid. The air you can wear, and that's one of the ingredients that kind of produce this severe weather.
Yeah, and when you think about it, I mean, the perfect ingredients were available, right? We had southerly winds, we have a tropical air mass, we have a warm front, so that creates lift. So everything was in place for this severe weather. And with all these storms that were in Maryland, the thinking was that when it made it into our region, into Delaware, South Jersey, or even into PA, that it would be weakened because we're going to lose this daytime heating. And here we are at 11:30 at night talking about tornado warnings extending. So it just goes to prove that even though the sun goes down, you don't have the sun's energy, these tornadoes can go on into the overnight. They can be generated in the early morning. There's no hard and fast rule with that. One thing I'm noticing, Scott, though, is this crosses over the bay potentially and then goes into Salem County. We're not really seeing that shear, so we're going to have to watch that blue and if it actually crosses the bay. But right now there's a lot of spin that's over Middletown, or I should say Middletown and Newcastle County.
Yeah, so right now it's 11:30. I'm meteorologist Scott Williams along with Kathy Orr. You typically would be watching the fantastic sports show right now, but we have severe weather rolling through our Delaware Valley communities.
Yeah, we sure do. We have a tornado warning that's in effect until 12 a.m., and that has been extended into Salem County, Delaware. We're here in the Weather Center. Good evening, everyone. We're going to continue to track these storms. It started off in Maryland, crossed over into Delaware, and now it's crossing over the Delaware Bay, this tornado warning for Salem County until midnight, and it's moving very slow. I mean, we're talking about a storm that's moving east at about 15 miles an hour, so it is going to dump a lot of rain over the course of the next half hour. So as you take a look at this, we've overlaid this blue, this blobby blue, because that's what's showing the spin in the atmosphere, and you can watch where that spin is, and that will tell you pretty much where your tornado is or your potential tornado. So you can see it right now just to the north of Thorntown, and it's going to be crossing over the bay. That bay water is pretty warm at this point, so it's not going to really lose a lot of its steam, and then it's going to cross over into Salem County. And when we look at the areas of Salem County in that warning area, we're talking about Ellensboro, Hagersville, even into Hammersville, Lower Alloways Creek, and of course Salem itself, Route 49, and even extending toward Elks Terrace. So if you live in this area, anywhere that's close to the bay, just be aware that this dangerous storm is heading your way, and it potentially has inches of rain. And also we're looking at a lot of spin and potential damaging winds associated with this as well.
Yeah, and let's go back to the hail tracker, because that was interesting. I mean, earlier, as you mentioned, we didn't really see a whole lot of hail with these storms through sections of Maryland, but we're starting to see that this has produced some hail, at least aloft. I'm not sure if it's making it all the way to the ground, but it is showing the signature for at least some quarter-sized hail with the system moving through sections of Newcastle County, 301, moving across Highway 13. I mean, heavy rainfall crossing the Delaware Bay, now into Salem County. Salem County, from Salem through the Hagerville area into Lower Alloways Creek, you are under that tornado warning until midnight. So we're looking at some rotation with this, so that's why the National Weather Service extended it across the bay into South Jersey until midnight for Salem County.
Yeah, look at this. On our ultimate Doppler on our weather maps, I overlaid the hail over the warning area, and that bright blue spot is like popping to the south of Thorntown. You can see it, and it's a pretty big indicator there. As you mentioned, we hadn't seen it in previous storms, and with this particular cell, this tornado warning, we're seeing it as it goes over the bay and heads into Salem County. So the thing I'm talking about is right here, this bright blue, right along Route 9, and you can see it near Cherry Bark Road, and that is a large indication of hail associated with this. So usually with these types of storms, you see the rain, you hear the thunder, you get hail, and the next potential would be a rotating thunderstorm, and that is the case right now with this tornado warning. This is in effect until 12 a.m. until midnight, and that is for the western part of Salem County, New Jersey. Now, I just heard another indicator, so I'm going to take a look.
A water spout.
Yeah, a water spout. Let's see.
Water spout possible.
Yeah, possible. This is a marine warning. A water spout possible, 45-mile-an-hour winds, Delaware Bay, and East Point to Slaughter Beach, Delaware. That's where we have that marine warning. Remember, we also have that flash flood warning for Chester, PA until 2:30 for potential for about 5 inches of rain that's already fallen. And additional rain that's going to be falling. So we've got so much going on here. It's not just the potential for damaging winds and hail with these storms, it's also the fact that they're moving so slow and have so much precipitation with them that they're creating a lot of flooding concerns as well.
Yeah, and I mean, add insult to injury, there's also like a coastal flood advisory tonight, and that stretches into the Delaware Bay. So we're already talking about an increase in some of the water levels with the high tide cycle in the back bays into the Delaware Bay, but also we're looking at that heavy rainfall. Some locations will probably end up with a half a foot of rainfall with this particular cell because it is producing that much rainfall with those very impressive rainfall rates, 2 to 4 inches per hour. So once again, it's crossing the Delaware Bay. The potential's there for a water spout as it does so with the rotation moving into sections of Salem County. So once again, let's kind of zoom into Salem County here, and you can see we're talking about some of the locations looking at very heavy rainfall right now. So here are some of the streets I want to zoom in. Money Island Road, Featherbed Lane, let's see, Oakwood Beach, Country Club Road, moving around, Greaves Parkway, New Bridge Road. This is in Salem County now, so we've crossed the Delaware Bay, but we're still dealing with this storm that has a Doppler radar indicated tornado with it and very heavy rainfall, as well as quarter-size hail potentially with this as it moves slowly, 15 miles per hour. I mean, you can jog faster than that, right?
Now, we do have some new video into the Weather Center that we want to take a look at. Oh my gosh, this is Middletown, Delaware, Newcastle County. I mean, talk about windswept rain. We want to thank Shane for this video. I mean, this is no visibility, right? I mean,
it's dark, it's scary.
It is scary, and that is a great point because when it's nighttime, you can't see anything, so you can't go outside. You're probably blowing transformers. The power's probably out in some locations. You can see the lights here, but it is definitely a scary scene, and the rain is coming down in buckets, tropical in nature.
I mean,
so this is scary.
That tree just looks like it wants to snap any second.
Yeah, I mean, this is a serious situation. So Middletown getting hit twice tonight, one tornado warning at 8:30 this evening, and this video taken from 11 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
So it's
thankfully, a lot of that rainfall is north of Middletown. So if you live on the northern side of town, you probably saw more wind and more rain than someone that lived maybe a little farther to the south. But right now, we still have that tornado warning that stretches into sections of Salem County with some of the same I guess images that you saw in Middletown. This could play out in Salem County with the wind, the blinding rain, lightning as well.
So here's the warning area. So I'm going to take off the radar and I'm going to take off our rotation here. I'm going to put on the storm reports in case something pops up, but you can see that this has gone over across the bay now into Salem County. So if we could take a zoom in on this area, you can see the areas like Alloway Road, Penn Coast Road, Hopewell Creek. This is the area that we're talking about as it crosses over the bay. Now, as we add the radar, you'll be able to see, I mean, the torrential rain associated with this and the potential for those damaging winds as well. So we're crossing over from Newcastle County, Delaware, across the bay, and then this is maintaining strength with that tornado warning. But Scott, those rain rates that we've looked at over the past hour or so are still there. I mean, we're talking about 1 to 2 inches an hour with this, whipping winds, a lot of lightning, and just, I mean, downpours. And I do think we're going to be talking about a lot of flooding concerns. And that's the problem with this. Obviously, it's dark and you're blinded by the rain. So, as far as the funnel clouds, the National Weather Service will go out and see tomorrow what the damage is and assess if it was indeed the work of a tornado. But the rain itself is going to be a big problem, and obviously with the saturated ground with all this rain, and then we're going to be looking at the winds as well. So we definitely have a little bit to go here, but the target area that we're talking about is Salem County in South Jersey, where a tornado warning was in effect for Newcastle County, Delaware. It crossed over the bay, and a lot of times it doesn't survive over the bay when you have severe weather, and it's a late hour.
It's actually kind of been fueling it. This is more of a nocturnal event. So I mean, to get a tornado overnight, I mean, we're closing in on midnight, and we're still seeing good rotation on ultimate Doppler. So, this tells us that the potential is there, and that's why we're staying with this, because lives and property are at risk.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this too, I mean, there's no tropical system. This is just a front that's moving through. And if we could take Barron again, it's a warm front that's really being the focus of this particular severe weather event. Like, the warm front was over Baltimore and Washington, and now it's moving close to our area, and it's just this warm, humid air mass that is tropical in nature, and you have this lift from a warm front. Now, typically with a warm front, you might get a few showers. Like, warm fronts are not
a tornado outbreak.
No, they don't typically cause tornadoes. It would be a strong cold front or a tropical system. So to have so many tornado warnings in Maryland, I counted at least 10.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at some of that video, Kathy. Look at some of these tornadoes. I don't know if we can re-cue that video, but I mean, some of these tornadoes, if you just looked at that video of those tornadoes, you would think you were in like Kansas or something,
well,
right?
It's interesting. We had a picture coming into the newsroom. One of our colleagues has a friend that lives down in Maryland, and we were asking to fact check it to make sure it was real, because it looked so much like a Kansas tornado.
I mean, look at these.
Yeah,
we were watching
huge.
Our sister station in
FOX29
DC.
5 in DC.
Absolutely, and they were going wall to wall, talking about confirmed tornadoes on the ground. And look at these videos showing you. This is just over in Maryland.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that far away, not at all. And we're talking about tornadoes on the ground, so they were obviously spotted on the ground. It's very rare around here that you can say tornado on the ground. It happened to me once during Sandy. That was the only time I've ever.
And so the National Weather Service is going to be busy assessing some of the damage reports tomorrow, of course, potentially even in our area. But as we go to radar, I want to show you the trail of destruction, so to speak. Look at all of those reported funnel clouds, as well as those tornado warnings that we saw in Maryland. So as I kind of zoom out, look at them. I mean, we're talking about at least a dozen reported tornadoes just off to the west of us. In our area, we're still watching that shear move through sections of Newcastle County, crossing into Salem County with very heavy rainfall. If you're watching us down the shore, you're looking at rain. The AC Expressway, non-severe showers moving through. Heavy rain's been lifting through Philadelphia, the north and west suburbs as well. But the heaviest of the rainfall right this second is in Newcastle County, as well as in Salem County right now in South Jersey.
Yeah, it's exiting Newcastle County right now. Still some heavy rain over Thorntown, but you can see that dark red right over the bay. This is the water, of course, and then right into Salem County. So, Scott, maybe we have about 5 or 10 more minutes in Newcastle County, Delaware, and then all the action will be in Salem County. But it's so heavy, the rain, and obviously the damaging winds potential with this is a very big deal. So once again, we still do have that tornado warning in effect. It's for the eastern part of Newcastle County, Delaware, as the storm exits, and the western part of Salem County, New Jersey, and that's until midnight. And we're going to continue to see. Look, there goes the hail going right over the Delaware Bay.
We have about 17 minutes left for this particular tornado warning that still is in a portion far eastern Newcastle County, but it stretches more so now into western Salem County. So you can see right there what we're watching. It looks like now Newcastle County is pretty much in the clear. That's some good news. It just updated there, Kathy.
Yep, tornado warning now. You can see, yes, they took the red away from Delaware, and now it's just the Bay and Salem County. And it's interesting because as we watch that hail tracker go across 301 and 13, just north of Middletown, Delaware, that hail is going right over the Delaware Bay and heading right into Salem County. And once again, it's unusual to see, you know, that continue right over the water and then into the next county. But that's the case tonight. That's how strong this storm is.
Yeah.
And it's just something that you don't typically see at this hour for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, even this time of year, because it's only early June.
We've only had tornado warnings this entire evening. We've been keeping tabs in Maryland. They had those multiple tornado warnings. And for our area thus far, we've only had the tornado warnings in sections of Newcastle County.
Okay, so officially the National Weather Service canceled that Newcastle tornado warning and continues Salem County till midnight. And still saying, you know, that severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located over Port Penn, 7 miles northeast of Middletown, moving 15 miles an hour. And now that has been allowed to expire, but they do continue it for Salem. So, you know, still looking at the same speed and direction as it heads into Salem County. And we are looking for it to weaken as it gets into a more stable environment. So that is the overall hope with this storm.
I think it's still moving at about 15 miles per hour. So I'm just going to kind of put a loose tracker on this, and so we can get our bearings and see some of the areas that this might impact over the next half hour or so. So once again, it's moving off to the northeast at about 15 miles per hour, which is very slow. So you can see 1157 Moore's Corner moving toward the Quinton area by 1207, and Alloway, if it holds together, by 1220. But currently, as I take the radar off, Quinton and Alloway are not in a tornado warning, but those are just some of the areas this particular cell is going to be moving to. It could be weakened by that time frame, but nonetheless, it's headed in your direction. But right now, from a line from Salem down to Lower Alloways Creek, you need to be in your safe zone. So an acronym I like to use is DUCK. Down, get to the lowest level of your floor, get under something, cover your head with the helmet, have shoes on as well if you're in this particular area. But debris could be strewn across the area. But the K is for keep. You want to keep away from those windows and doors, because as we've seen with tornadoes, you can get flying glass and debris, and that is a potential with this particular Doppler radar indicated tornado warning. It hasn't been confirmed or observed, but it is Doppler radar indicated, and this activity has had a history of observed tornadoes just off to the west. We just showed you that impressive video of those tornadoes that are probably going to be easily EF2s when they rate them tomorrow. So everyone's going to be talking about this outbreak in Maryland with those tornadoes, and this same system is impacting us right now, although it is in a weakened state from what they were dealing with in Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the warning area right now, I'm going to go into street level and show you some streets in the western part of Salem County, and we'll be able to see exactly the neighborhoods that are impacted. That tornado warning until midnight. We do have a few minutes left on it, about 12 minutes to be exact. And on our computer graphics here
on maps, if we could take maps, we're going to kind of go street level
and
show you some of the areas that are impacted with the very heavy rainfall, those gusty winds, and that potential tornado. So you need to be in your safe zone. We're staying with this until midnight, so about, as Kathy said, 12 more minutes for this tornado warning in Salem County. It's had a history of rotation, a history of some quarter-sized hail, lightning, gusty winds. We've been getting some video in from Newcastle County of some of the wind with this system, so very powerful in nature, and the flooding concerns with that heavy rainfall. I think there's probably going to be a swath through Delaware, Newcastle County into Salem County, where we probably pick up about half a foot of rainfall. But look at this. This is in Newcastle County, Delaware, this evening, and you can see how the wind just picked up. It looks like that tree wants to go from vertical to horizontal. So this is the energy that we're dealing with this system. Thanks so much to Shane Campbell out of Delaware for submitting this. Staying safe, of course, and then you can see there's some vehicles in the background. It looks like heavy rainfall, but the wind just picked up in an instant.
It's amazing. Like, if you look at the road, you can see the wind blowing the water. I mean, that looks like a tropical storm. And it was tropical today.
Lightning, you can see the lightning as well. So this kind of really just sets the stage for what people are dealing with at night. I mean, this is, it's scary at night.
It is scary. And if you look at Ultimate Doppler, you can see those darker colors in Ellisboro right now. That's the western part of Salem County, New Jersey. And the areas, the neighborhoods we're talking about is around Mason Point Road, Money Island Road, and then if you go a little bit further inland, we're talking about New Bridge Road, if you're familiar with that, or Holgate Boulevard, Cuff Road, Robinson Road. That is where we are looking at the area of the heaviest rain and the potential for the Doppler radar indicated tornado. So there's a lot of hail associated with this, a lot of lightning associated with this storm, and we're going to continue to track that. So
yeah, we have about 10 minutes left with this, and there's still a pretty good rotation signature with this over on radar, and you can really see how we've been tracking this through Maryland, through central sections of Newcastle County, and it's crossing the Delaware Bay into the western part of Salem County. So the potential is still there for a tornado to spin up, and it only takes, a few seconds for a spin up to cause some damage. We've seen severe weather thus far across the country and what some of these brief spin up tornadoes can do. So that's why we're trying to stay on here and give you the information that you need to stay safe. So very heavy rainfall has occurred in parts of the area, in particular Newcastle County. You can see those numbers there coming in right around 4.5 to 5 inches of rainfall. So very impressive in just a short amount of time. So I mean, we went from kind of a dry spell the past couple of days to just all of a sudden dealing with the very heavy rainfall, and this is moving into Salem County right now. Some locations closing in on 4.5 inches as we look at some of those rainfall estimates.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at Delaware, just north of 301, 4.4 inches. That's the estimate. Chesapeake City, obviously, that's in Maryland where they had the storms earlier. That's over 5 inches of rain, but very impressive to see Salem. I mean, it hasn't been in that area that long, and as we take a look at Salem County and Ellisboro, that's our main area that we're looking at right now. We're looking at rain estimates, about 4.4 inches of rain, 3.9 in Salem, already 2.4 inches of rain with this potential tornado. So it's not just the wind, it's the windswept rain, and it's the damage that can all do to an area and to a neighborhood. So you can see that tornado warning was dropped for Newcastle County, Delaware, and you can see a lot of the rain is moving out. Still some heavy rain in Newark and also toward Wilmington on 95. It's crossing the bay right now. We're still getting hail indicators with this particular storm, and we're looking at it just heavy rain and potential for damaging winds with this potential tornado. So
we're going to check some information from the Weather Service. It looks like they're going to expire the tornado warning.
Yes, for Salem County. There you go. The tornado warning has expired for Salem County, New Jersey, and we've expired the marine warning for the Delaware Bay as well. So now we are getting a little bit back to normal here, and actually it's still indicating on our computer graphic, but it was officially expired. So there you have it, guys. Ultimate Doppler showing still seeing very heavy rain across the Delaware Valley, still seeing potential thunderstorms moving up toward Philadelphia, but that severe thunderstorm, that rotating thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado in Salem County has been allowed to expire before the 12 midnight deadline. So that's good news. It's weakened, and right now we do not have anything severe in our area.
Yeah, that's definitely good news. We're going to continue to monitor this throughout the overnight. Of course, Susario is going to have the latest on Good Day beginning at 4 a.m. as well.
Absolutely. Are we going to take a break, guys? Okay, we're going to take a break. And welcome back to Fox 29 News extended toward the midnight hour. I'm meteorologist Kathy Orr.
Yeah, I'm meteorologist Scott Williams. Thanks so much for staying with us as we continue to time out and track severe weather. The good news is the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for sections of Salem County, but we're still talking about very heavy rainfall impacting most of the Delaware Valley here as we approach midnight. We're looking at some of the rainfall totals coming in 4 to 5 inches through central sections of Newcastle County, extending into sections of Salem County, but you can see Gloucester County now, Camden County, Burlington County, very heavy rainfall out of this system. The severe weather threat is diminishing, but that flood concern, if you're traveling overnight, going to third shift, just keep that in mind. If you encounter flooded roadways, you'll want to turn around, not drown.
Absolutely. So more heavy rain moving through during the overnight period, but we are going to continue to watch for flooding potential because there are some flooding concerns as well. As we look at the heavy rain, you can see through Delaware, even into Salem County, we're talking about 3 to 5 inches of rain that has already fallen in this particular storm system, and we're expecting more overnight. The good news is into the early morning hours as this moves toward the northeast, a lot of these showers will diminish in intensity, but there is some wind, there is some rain, and obviously there's a lot of lightning, especially to the south and east of Philadelphia. So we're going to keep a careful eye on this. It will linger into the wee hours of the morning, and of course Susario will have much more on Good Day Philadelphia beginning at 4 a.m. But this is part of a system that has been brewing since the evening in Maryland, D.C., moved into Delaware, into South Jersey, and now the National Weather Service has allowed that warning to expire in Salem County, New Jersey. So right now, even though our little indicator is still up there, there are no severe weather warnings in our region. We do have that flash flood warning that's in the southern part of Chester County until 2:30 in the morning because of inches of rain that has already fallen and for additional rain that has just fallen and moved into the Wilmington area. So that will be allowed to expire at 2:30 as well. For tomorrow, there is a threat of severe weather in the afternoon, so that's something we're going to be watchful of as well. And of course, we'll have full coverage of that as we go through the morning and afternoon hours. We'll see how much sunshine we get and what the potential for the severe weather is. But for now, we're just talking about showers and thunderstorms that will be continuing, and of course we'll monitor that into the overnight to see if anything severe should occur. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching us tonight. Person, Place, or Things is next. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you for Good Day at 4.